best to be the best at everything I was going to, pursue. And it just kind of planted that seed in terms of like giving your all and not feeling sorry for other people who were kind of like lazy and were left behind at some
Yeah,
point.
but everybody who's left behind or lazy or any of that stuff, it's because nobody said the right words to them. It's because nobody, you know what I'm saying? It's all about your influences. We are a product of our environment. We don't make ourselves. We are made by our circumstances. And so it's just silly to even, our whole ego is a canard. It's a lie. And yes, we fall into it. We indulge our ego to get through our life. But if we're going to be serious philosophers, we have to concede, oh, that's right. I didn't have anything to do with me. Because there's no such thing as me. You know, everything I am because of what somebody else pushed into me. The modern mystic, for as much as I hate his guts and he's such a shithead, he said something. The only person on YouTube ever said anything I find of any value whatsoever. Only person on YouTube gave me one tiny bit of insight. And he said, he didn't even say this though, but he got me to say it. And the line, the thing I've came up with is I have more power to influence you than I have power to influence me. And it's goddamn true. And that's the catch of this life thing.
I don't know. I guess I'm still, a little naive, and I still have a little bit of faith in, free will and determining your path. And
Well, faith,
I made a video.
there's two places you went right there that just end the conversation in that sense. I mean, faith and free will. I mean, it just blew up the sentence there. You can't go anywhere with that. It's like just saying unicorn and leprechaun gold. Well, fuck, I got nothing to say about unicorns and leprechaun gold.
All right. Well, what about some wasp, some 20-year-old white Anglo-Saxon Protestant who's been given everything to them in their life, and just fucking blows off school and drops into drugs. Is that person just a product of their environment? Should you feel sorry for someone who does something like that because they're just kind of like it was determined for
You
them?
should grieve for all suffering, whether it's Adolf Hitler or it's the most beautiful Gandhi. It doesn't matter who is enduring it. Okay, so and it doesn't matter what the real cause of it was, because you can't fix the past. All you can do is fix the future. So all you can do is influence people to prevent it in the future. And I guess I would argue is that, in my opinion, yeah, all human behavior is subject to change at an instant. The right sentence at the right time, the right smack in the head, the right circumstance, and they will gain appreciation. I mean, if they could be the selfishest, worst asshole on earth, and let's say they're standing on a street corner with their 5-year-old daughter, and she gets run over by a truck because the brakes fail. You know what I mean? I mean, it's yeah, their life changes. Everything changes. Their world changes. Their worldview changes. Everything it's a different universe is created. It's like the Christmas Carol. It's a Dickens story. Okay, the Scrooge movie. Yeah, one night of the right dreams, and you might wake up the next day an entirely different person.
Yeah, I guess I haven't experienced those kinds of eureka moments. I kind of like you know, there's two kind of ways of looking at it. One is this gradual development, and if Charles Darwin kind of thought that way, he didn't have the eureka moment. He had the gradual coming together of a theory, and what you're talking about in context of like your personal identity and values and all that. But I think it's
Well, I'm just saying there are words though. There's words that come to your mind that you can say, okay, those are just profoundly meaningful words. Like Kennedy, it's oh damn, that one where he's talking about we do it not because it's easy, we do it because it's hard, or Martin Luther King, even with the judge a man based on the content of his character, not the color of his skin. It's just obvious, sensible thing at the right moment, and you say, God damn, who can
Parables.
argue with something like that? Who can argue with it? Listen, whether you call it a parable, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's a statement, or it's a thing, or it's an idea, a concept that can shake your world, change your brain. But some people don't need to be radically changed. It's not like they have some sort of moral crisis. And so I guess if you don't have that crisis, you don't need the change. But I'm just saying that we're all capable of being changed, and the only thing that's going to do it, though, it mostly has to come from the pieces other people gave you. You have to do it built on what other people constructed in the past. Their experiences are part of your experience. You know, their knowledge is part of your knowledge. What you were exposed to on television, what movies you have seen, what books you have read, all this shit is what made your identity. You really didn't make any of it. And every decision you made was predicated on some prior circumstance that existed, on some prior knowledge that was provided you. And we are a product of that environment. We just can't escape that as the primary factor in deciding who you are.
There's you can have multiple situations like that as well in your life that could be considered life-changing. Like, a lot of people have had like a near-death experience, and that's made them, you know, reassess everything that they do and change them. That's how a lot of people come to know religion, is because they have like a life-threatening illness and they survive, and they're like, okay, God saved me. I think it depends on the person, because I've seen people that were given so much in life, not spoiled, but they were given so many great things in life, and yet they still, like you were saying earlier, like a wasp who drops into drug addiction. And it's like, how are you not succeeding? Like, even if they were trained by their parents to be a certain way and they just went against that. I think a lot of it is genetic. They found the same thing with adopted children. A lot of times they turn into what their genetic parents were. You know, I'd like to think that it's mostly environmental and that we could force change on ourselves. But some people are just dense, and some people cannot, like, they don't want to change.
Yeah, I don't buy the dense argument. Yeah, we have a natural disposition. Some of us are hyper, some of us are relaxed by disposition. We all have a lymphic system and glands, and they're going to be of certain activity, and that's going to create a disposition that's more capable of going neurotic or less capable of going neurotic, more capable of panic, less capable of panic. So yeah, we're all going to come to it with a disposition, but that disposition, again, is nothing we can control. That's something we are provided, we're thrown into the world with. But I mean, if I raise you in Harlem versus Bangladesh versus Hollywood versus some other, I mean, you're going to be a different person. You are not going to survive those different nurturing environments as you. You will be different.
I'm street. I could hold my own.
You know, I talked about a lot of that in my most recent video, the one you said you didn't like, but just the fact that human beings, by virtue of being human, you know, it's very much a genetic thing. That's not, you know, I'm getting a little deeper than this sort of like being born with a predisposition or a temperament. I'm talking about like the structure of the human species compared to other species, and like that, interpreting that as a kind of temperament in the grander sense of the animal kingdom, and how we really are born into a kind of sin or guilt, in that this particular way that our DNA has organized itself is inherently limiting, just as, you know, someone born with schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever is limiting to them. It's like the same thing's happening on the level of humanity. And, you know, for me, that raises issues in terms of, you know, when we claim to make true statements, you know, how dependent are those statements on this kind of condition of the human brain? And, you know, if the human brain's totally inequipped to actually understand something as objective as truth and reality and the way things are, then should we really be putting, believing ourselves, even things that convince us to the T, like our most basic fundamental principles about life
Yeah, well, I
and
got a
the way
counter
things
argument
work?
to that. I got a counter argument to that because our intelligence grew out of evolution. It was a tool for modeling a real world. It wasn't a tool of fantasy. It was a tool of reality. We needed to know where the bears were. We needed to know what the mountain lion would do. We needed to know what our adversary was going to do. We needed to know what the competition was going to do. So it was a tool for modeling the real world and to be able to make rational decisions in the real world, not a fake world, in the real world. So it's a reasoning logic tool. All right, and the only thing that's misinformed us is bullshit. We have taken archaic crap and not let go of it. Okay, and we've dragged it 2,000 years into the future. I mean, how stupid is that? I mean, it's illogical. It just completely breaks brains. And we condition people on it, and it's that conditioning that's the problem. If we condition somebody in a neutral state, their logic will work very well. But we condition people to be in love with ideas. Okay, they need them. Okay, they're dependent on them. They can't live without them anymore. And that's we create people who don't just like religion. They are addicted to religion. They have to have God in the universe, or they can't function anymore.
My response to that would be kind of like, if you look at evolution as something that's not yet done, completed, and I'm not going to get into this whole, it's like Jesus is coming back kind of, hope in the future thing, but, if we go back to Homo sapiens or monkeys, if we go back 100,000 years, that was the threshold of intelligibility at that point. Is that to say that since that was the best and that's what evolution had come to at that point, that they had gained a plan of reality?
Is it shark just his teeth? I mean, you're talking like our intelligence can do something. Our intelligence was just a tool, like a shark's tooth. Okay, instead of having a sharper teeth, we ended up with a sharper mind. Okay, it was a tool that made us survivable. All right, but it's not a tool that gives us anything else. It doesn't make your penis bigger. It doesn't make you know what I mean? It doesn't enrich the real objective of the living organism, the sentient one, which is to gain comfort. And so all of our comfort mechanisms are still built on consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction. That's the mix. And you're saying that we're going to somehow transcend that fundamental premise of existence, which is we gain gratification. We're gratification organisms, all right? And the end game, the way we've been programmed, is we gain gratification through necessary consumption, reproduction, and what on planet Earth has to be a fight with each other, cannibalism, and desire, which is addiction. And what else is there? You're saying there's something else in the mixture, and I'm going to ask you, what else is possible? There's nothing else for intelligence to work with but making these little gooey, wanty things happy.
All I'm going to do is question the, whether or not the brain, this tool you're talking about, is even equipped in the first place to understand reality. This could be the next step in illusions that we have about what reality really is, but we're kind of like that single-celled protozoan.
That's worse than God. You're just saying there's some invisible God that we haven't thought of yet. We haven't made up the right God. So we just wait until we make up something perfect or better. You're just saying there's some sort of
I'm not saying
mush out there that we haven't comprehended yet because our brain can't comprehend it. I mean, you could say that forever. Forever, human beings could say to each other, oh, our brain isn't developed enough, we can't comprehend reality, really. No, we are. We can comprehend reality. Our brain is a logical tool. You keep talking like there's some sort of facts that we're unaware of. No, we're aware of how the fucking universe works, basically. We're certainly aware of how evolution works. We certainly know how we got here through evolution. I mean, we've got all the big questions answered, and there's no evidence of this special purpose for human beings.
If evolution shows me anything, It's the inevitability of change and the inevitability that there's going to be something beyond human beings.
Change from what? Well, how is stomach change?